All right, good night, good evening, everybody. Yeah. Welcome to the March 26th meeting of CB11's Executive Committee. My name is Adem Bria, and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is being called to order at 6:30 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Angel Muscane, our district manager, who is the staff liaison to our committee. That be me? No, my mic's off. All right. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participant's icon and you will find the raise hand function there. You should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. The chat should not be used to discuss or pose questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Angel,
Jose Altamirano. Adem Bria,
present.
Rosa Diaz.
Present.
Joel Jones. Dave Mason. Lexel Rama.
Present.
Asher Rodriguez. David Santiago, present. Derek Stampone. Anne Marie Baxter.
Present.
Jason Villanueva. Okay, right about the echo, I'll figure it out when you try. Speak up.
All right, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We'll now go to the adoption of the meeting minutes. The minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Okay, seeing no objections, the minutes for the last meeting are adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are going to be taken by me, okay, with Dembria. All right, so we'll go to announcements. I'll let you do when do you want to do your report? We'll move that into business. So I think we'll go in presentations, discussions, and
Announcements, sir?
now do it in old business.
No, but. No.
Oh, you have announcements?
Yes.
Oh, I meant the secretary report. Go ahead.
Oh.
You can do your announcements.
Okay. So El Barrio's Operation Fightback has a certified home health aide training and employment. In English, April 1st, in Spanish, April 8th, and April 15th. You can give them a call or show up in person to 413 East 120th Street, room 402. The phone number is 212-427-7080, extension 132.
That's it? Yeah, of course.
So my name is Paula Matushka, and I have, and with BCCT, Freedom Communities are culture together, and we have a food pantry on April 4th and April 25th at 10 a.m.
Thank you. Where is it again? The address?
It's at 71st East and 111th Street.
Okay, thank you. Whoever can go to help out, go. All right, I got a couple of, go ahead, Xavier.
Our CB11 job fair will be May 9th, 12 p.m. over at Union Settlement, and we have a partnership sign on volunteer and PA growing. Right about it, with refine upward pathways for employment. So stay tuned for that, and I'd love to have volunteers. Or he volunteered.
I will do that. Okay, I have a couple of announcements. So today, me and Rosa went to one of the supportive housing facilities that St. Francis of the Four has down on 22nd Street on the west side. Don't hold me. The address is in there. We've all seen it. I'll just speak about my experience, Rosa. We'll try to keep it brief, but if you want to add, no, if you want to add anything I missed, let me know. What I really appreciated was that, they did want us to come in while their programs are happening and while their residents are there, which I thought really gives you more of an accurate picture of, how the facility runs, how the residents interact. I won't name any, but I've been on some walkthroughs where it felt very sterile and empty, which is, it could be a coincidence, but it also seems like you're not sure if you're seeing what's really going on there and if that's intentional or not. That wasn't the case today. We saw the residents there, we saw the facility. It's an older facility. They're in the middle of doing construction, but that happens. But the residents look very happy. They have a lot of services for them. It's set up well. They have people to help them with their benefits or, their social security, their Medicaid, Medicare, balancing their money. For certain residents, they'll give them cash, instead of a debit or credit card, they'll like give them from their budget, which, I understand that it's what I assumed is that for some of them, it's easier to kind of keep and stay accountable with that. They do provide the 2 meals a day. We were there for right as lunchtime was kind of starting. I'll be honest, like just for me, I thought it was very well run. There were a lot of seniors there for the most part, which is, obviously I think that's something that we were saying that, if this is going to happen, that's the, preference to people from the community and preference towards seniors. I believe though anyone 18 and older can be accepted there. They provided a lot of this data, but we asked them a lot of questions. We asked them about their engagement with the community there. A lot of businesses have been supportive of them. They've gotten like access agreements from their surrounding buildings when they needed to do construction work. And that just tells you that they're good neighbors, right? Usually it's hard to get an access agreement from a neighboring building. And the fact that they were able to get them with which they said minimal trouble was nice to hear. Me and Rosa walked by it without realizing it was there. And I joked with them that that's a good thing, right? Because a lot of the, what we hear, and I think sometimes we do see differently ourselves, is that it can just blend in and be a part of the community. And I asked them, because I think the concerns we've heard more so than what happens inside from the, is what happens outside. And I asked them, like, have they, had reports from incidents happening around there? And they said, like, pretty much none. And if anything, lower than anywhere else. And then, this one will obviously have the affordable housing component, and the entrance for everybody would be the same. The apartments will be kind of scattered throughout. So people in a supportive housing unit will be living next to somebody in an affordable housing unit. So it'll be blended together. I felt that personally, a lot of my concerns were addressed. There's still a long way to go. They want to meet with the electeds. They are going to meet with the CC4. They want to be engaged. They want to continue the dialogue with us. I've asked them, should that be the route we choose to go? How can we push more and more for getting the people that we want served their priority? I'm also of the mind that whoever needs it the most should be getting served. But so it's a good walkthrough, and they're open to doing other ones. So for anyone who missed this one, I'll go the next one with you guys as well. But I would strongly recommend that I was very it was very nice to see. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, Rosa. I know I missed some things, but I'm not going to give them the whole thing.
I think you said it. You said everything. They do have, just to piggyback on that, they do have like a nurse on site. They have a social worker. They have psychologists. So they have everything, and they manage the building. They're the landlord. So like every inconvenience, like they go straight to them. Any repairs, it goes straight to them, and he's taking care of the same day. You don't have to wait a week, call them up or get a ticket or anything like that. It was a very authentic, exciting conversation, and I think they do meet each tenant's, like, where they at. Whatever kind of situation that they come there with, they really support each of the tenants. And when we were there, like the tenants, right? The tenants came in and out, excuse me, we moved to the side, like there was no problem at all. And they were like about to eat too.
There were a lot of, it was very busy and bustling. It was what you would picture, just a regular day being there and in full swing. And they even have a doctor on site once a week for medical check. They, part of why they like to have the lunch, they want them to come out of the room so they can put eyes on them. That's a little bit of a concern here, I guess, because they're gonna have more, which is a good thing in a way too, but they're gonna have more robust rooms here, which are gonna require them to not necessarily have to go out as much because there's more like to do inside their room. So that's something they're looking to figure out because they like to be able to actively engage and see their residents. And though they said if they don't see someone for like a day or so, they will go and check on them and knock on their door. So again, any other details, I'm happy to share them, but I think that, thank you, I missed some of those important things, so.
24/7. And they check on their tenants every single day, like literally every day. Like if they don't see anyone by the end of the day, okay, we need to check on them. So that's what I like because they're like engaging and they are going to, check on me, like God forbid something happened to me or I feel or something, they're gonna check on me.
Next announcement and final announcement, we had our, some of us are on the task force, so we had our, Second Avenue Subway Task Force meeting. It's the first one we've had in a bit. The idea is to start doing these pretty much monthly. I think this is probably one of the most, if not the most important thing this community will see coming, most impactful, let me say it that way. In 100 years, it's gonna change things on so many levels. We're in the midst of a lot of construction work that's about to come. It's gonna get even, if you think what you're seeing now is a lot, it's just gonna get more and more and more. There's environmental concerns, there's quality of life concerns, there's what are they gonna do? They're acquiring a lot of properties where they're gonna put these ancillary facilities, but they're gonna be building much higher than they could be built much higher than what those facilities take up, which then leads to the question of what will they be doing with that? What kind of housing? The idea, in my opinion, is to work cohesively with them. They do come, they are very transparent with their communications. I don't know how transparent the information always is, but that's something I'm skeptical of with everybody. But I think the onus is on us to stay on top of them, to ask the questions. A lot of these things will probably touch on things that impact your committees, but we are going to keep it centralized there so we can keep everything organized. But with that said, as the chairs of the committees and whoever's not here, I implore you to, give your input and stuff to anything attend the meetings, and give your input. And, if there are things that concern you on your committees, I think they would be happy to cover it over there. And as always, everybody's welcome to come and participate in the conversation. Dave?
Can you just give a quick, I know you have the minutes and the recording, but what do you guys talk about on Tuesday?
So one of the things that was brought up is they bought a lot on 120th and Second Avenue, and next to it, there are 3 buildings that they've also taken that are in very bad disrepair that they're gonna have to demolish. And I don't know what school is it again?
Yes,
Yes. 96. So there's most likely asbestos and stuff in that property. So they're gonna be doing it, demolishing by hand, which is supposed to create less dust than, doing it through machines. But there's been the debate of, are they covering it enough? There can be a full encapsulation, which would have like HEPA filters and all of that to completely, make sure the air quality is not, troubling, because this will be happening at least at points during active school sessions. I had asked, I don't know if it was asked that night, but I even asked, like, when kids are playing in the schoolyard, will this be going on? They did not have an answer when I asked that question. I had met with them in an elected official meeting the day before, and I was really pressing on the encapsulation. What I did find interesting was the main reason now that they can't fully encapsulate was not the answer given to me the day before. It was about, now it's apparently the scaffolding that has to be put up to secure the encapsulation to the building. It would jeopardize the structure of the buildings, is what they're saying, and cause it to collapse. That was not what I was told the day before by the same people. So I don't know. We asked, who's gonna be doing the air quality testing? We're pushing for it to be a third party, obviously. We asked if the air quality readings do end up being poor, what happens? They said they don't know. They'll have to figure that out when it happens. Obviously, they would stop work. We talked about, we had a presentation from Columbia, I think, in conjunction with Civitas, about what they are, kind of laying out more of the housing and development that could come from this, and they want feedback from the community. They're gonna be coming back in April because the report is due May 1st, so they want us to give them feedback into what we're looking for. Xavier pointed out that, and I did look at it and found it, that we had passed a resolution a while back in regard to the ancillary properties and what we would be looking for. We pointed them to the rezoning plan and all that, but, and the neighborhood plan, but I think we have to, definitely update whatever we have and go from there. So that's a lot of it. I'm happy to talk offline with everybody, because this is like top 2 or 3 things for me, at least for the time being, like full steam ahead. So I think that's it for announcements.
I have one more, I'm sorry.
Hey, go ahead.
It's tomorrow, just remind me because I have these announcements. White Playground Conversations tomorrow at the East Harlem Community Partnership, 71 East, 111th Street, 2nd floor at 6 p.m. It's gonna happen from 6 to 8 p.m. Everyone is welcome. You don't need to register, just show up.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move to, this should be quick. We're gonna move to presentations and discussions. I'm happy to see we have some of our committee members online, even though they're not gonna be able to be present, they could at least hear this. I think that I want to say a couple of things. I kind of just want to go around quickly and ask just one question of each. Use the same question, the easy question. But in terms of preparing the meeting agendas, this won't touch every committee the same way. But I think that overall it will for most of them. And it does tie into the Second Avenue Subway Task Force meeting, because one of the things that did come up too was the small businesses. The fact that the signs are horrendous. They say they learned from lessons of the past. Somehow our signs 10 years later are worse than the ones below 96th Street. They said they had to rush to do them. But we were like, you knew you were coming. You knew what businesses would be impacted. So, then they said they gave the contractor the option to pick them. And I said, well, obviously they picked the cheapest one. And I'm surprised that any options provided were worse than at least the best option last time, right? There has been, we don't know what the businesses that are getting relocated, what they're getting. We're happy if they are getting good deals, but the question is, how much are they getting? I asked if they were getting bought out of their leases, bought out to be relocated. We don't know. I wouldn't say that, because we don't really know that answer. And the reason I ask that is I obviously want those businesses, I think as we all do, if you're going to be relocated, but it would be interesting to know how they're coming up with those numbers. If they are doing that, what are they basing it on? Because also then the thing I'm struggling with is they're claiming that having nice signs and stuff is a budget problem. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, after you finish, I'm sorry. It's just, one of the businesses, contact me. I think, that my phone number is going around. Cheryl Unisex, called with, that she doesn't have any signage. The lady that came to the meeting, it still doesn't have the signage. I don't know, Craig said that maybe it was stolen, that he was gonna go, but I was also supposed to go today, but I was.
All right, I got a few more things to say, but Sage, then Anne Marie. Like on the gates that are outside, the construction gates, because they're obscuring their businesses, they put the signs up along the street so you can kind of see the name of their business and everything. It's like a banner.
Yeah, it's a banner they put on the fence in Jersey Fair. Jersey Fair is the big plastic red, orange, and white. Then they put the fence on top, and then they put the signs right there.
And I think you had suggested, because even the barriers themselves look like they came from a war zone. And you had discussed maybe having them paint them and stuff like that. Here's my issue, and I think I'll end it on this is the discussion on signage should not even be a discussion. But the fact now that we're having an argument over signs is holding us back from wondering, what did you come up with more creatively over the past 10 years? That the discussion is still on just getting adequate signage. With that said, the reason I bring it up is they said it's a legislation thing too, to get more money for the small businesses. That this has to be something that our electeds pushed and got passed to get these businesses funding. With that said, and this ties into the discussion, about agendas being based, I think, on a lot of them on two things. And the first one is us looking at our local electeds in council and assembly and senate and seeing what legislation our local electeds have been putting forward in their committees that are adjacent to our committees and that align with what we are advocating for. So in this instance, I encourage that committee to look at legislation introduced by the Assembly member Gibbs at the Assembly, and then Serrano is at the State Senate. I believe they're both in committee, meaning I'm pretty sure they need, I don't know when they were put forward, but that means they're probably gonna need some help pushing them. Also because that's very localized money they're asking for, might be more of a challenge. So that's just to get into the idea of, I think that if we do that, and we're not doing anyone a favor really, right? We're aligning with things that we would support. And I think it gives us a starting point as opposed to us having to figure out how to start things from scratch always. Not that that's a problem, but then when we do that, we can go to these same offices because we're building a working relationship where then we'd expect that reciprocation of them advocating and helping us push forward the things that we're looking to do, or them piggybacking on some of our initiatives. And then, okay, go ahead.
But I don't, you don't have to
Yeah,
stop
let
me
'em-
because.
You don't let them finish.
No, I don't mind. This is better. I don't need to speak for
Okay.
20 minutes in a row.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it will also be great for the elected officials if they have anything in mind that we can also, bring, like, discuss whatever bill that they have in mind, and then when they want to put it forward, that they can actually come and let us know about it, so we all hear it, not just like us, like 5, 6 members, but the whole board
Well,
hears.
it wouldn't be
what
us.
bills,
Oh, it wouldn't be us.
It'd be
Like,
the
you would
committee.
go and look at, say, something, or like Xavier, for example, that's in the Second Avenue Subway Task Force, but Xavier could be saying, I'm Economic Development Chair, right? This is money being raised, and he could still bring it up there. This is money being raised for small businesses, trying to be raised through legislation. He'd put that on his agenda. His whole committee would become aware of that. And the problem, I hear what you're saying. I think we have to do this a little bit to get those conversations started. I think if we reach out to them, well, we might get answers from their offices, so that could work, so yes. Go ahead.
I think this is good, to review. We all should be reviewing proposed legislation. I was encouraged years ago, but I also take a page from the book of Gail. When she was asked, what is her position on a particular legislative item? And she would reply, what is the community boards? So I think it's twofold. It's us coming up with proposed solutions as well as looking what they're doing, seeing what aligns.
I did say that just now, but great minds do think alike.
Yeah, sorry.
I
No,
appreciate it. You're just,
yeah.
you're supporting what I said.
Yeah, no, I am supporting, but I think it's, just for example, we had talked about years ago about dog fouling and looking out for animals, and they just now are getting passed the legislation in council for that very end, for use of animals, and everything that has taken years. So
No, go ahead. Yeah.
that's it.
And then the other part, and this is really it for me, then I'll ask the question and hear what feedback you guys have too, is our budget process, right? So each committee, Anne Marie, we never really had it there and we'll probably, but have budget requests. And start to think about it, because really all the work Sage has been doing and getting us more engaged. And I've shown up to all the meetings and trying to be, and I'm actually like very interested in participating in these conversations when I wasn't so much myself either always. It can be a little boring if you're not, I think, approaching it in the right ways. But then it got me to thinking, like, if these are the requests we're making from committees, or these are our needs, or these are our statements, this should be the work that we think is the most important, right? These are the needs we're saying, this is where we're asking money to be put. And I know some committees have like standing, agencies that are supposed to report, but I think some committees can do that more. And then I think that some of the bigger ones, we'll have budget consultations, we'll have all of that, but I'm thinking of how I've never done that process, but how it could be possibly made more inclusive. I can't say that till I know what the process is fully, but we'll figure that out. But I think agenda should be built around that, that should be an ongoing yearly thing, I think, because then when we get to those parts where we have to do it, we've been talking about doing that work all year round. But I think if we really incorporate it into what we do, it'll be a lot more just seamless as opposed to just adding this agenda item where we discuss our budget request. People get to that at the end of the meeting and then we kind of don't do it. Whereas if, you had a request of HPD or whatever, testimony, in my opinion, isn't the only opportunity. It's getting them in this room, on our turf with a group of us, knowing what we're asking for and pushing for it. And I think that between that and this other component with the legislation, including then proposing our own stuff that we'd ask them to support, I think that gives a strong foundation. What I'm trying to say is you guys are going to have your own ideas, and these will be your ideas too, what you do with them. But I guess what I'm saying is, to me, there's no excuses. Really, September, full steam ahead. There's no excuses to not have meaningful agendas every month from the committees that can do this. And if there aren't, then there will be discussions as to how we could better support that. Go ahead, Steve.
With regard to just reviewing budget requests on like an ongoing basis, I think it would help, because most committees create their agendas really just based off of like the template that the staff liaison sends out. At least that's kind of what it is on district needs. And then I, add what I want to add. But it just in the default template under old business, we just included like a link to the budget request form. I think psychologically, people would think that there's like something that they need to do for that. And then it's easy if we can get, the agenda and the link to that on the screen easily. And with the thing that I sent you.
Yeah, which is very nice, by the way.
I need to work some stuff out.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's very nice.
So to put the link for the budget request on the actual agenda, so when it's downloaded.
Yeah, the same way.
You can just tap it or, okay, thank you.
But the people I need to tell that I want the agendas to be like this are also in the room, but I agree with supplementing it with that for sure.
Yeah, but like if Angel or whoever the staff liaison is just on like the template, just like
Yeah,
the same way.
I agree.
When we have a full board meeting, there's like an automatic link to.
Yeah, like supporting documents, yeah. Okay, I think that's a great idea. I think that's it from me. Is there anything anybody else has to share about what I said? And then I just have like a question. I'd like, may not have the answer, but you can think about it. So I guess then I'll ask my question. Board oversight starting to talk about feedback from building surveys out, right, for feedback. We haven't really, I think it's not really my thing, so I'm just going to talk about what I've observed, but that, feedback from committee members to give on their committee chairs, vice versa, about staff liaisons. I think one that maybe hasn't been discussed so much is maybe one about me, right? I don't know who would oversee mine, but we'll figure that out. But maybe you guys will do it, or Angel. But I think my question here just now, and to think about, if you have any answers, is seeing that, this is what, month 3. How do you guys feel supported, and how do you feel that you could be supported but more I'm speaking specifically about me and Jose, who's not here right now. So if you don't have answers now, like, is there something we could be helping to make you guys, and I'm not saying you're not doing a good job, but perform at an even higher level. I want you guys to think about that. We're definitely going to be looking at the feedback we start getting to also tell you what we're going to need more of. I think the idea here is that by collecting these surveys, it won't just be what we think, but the members that are actually engaged with you guys. It'll be things like, do you feel included? Do you have a say in what the agenda is? Do you think the topics that this committee should be covering are being covered, right? Like, do you feel like you've been brought up to speed on what you should be, knowing to do? Do you feel comfortable asking those questions? And then you guys will have the flip side. Like, do you feel they're being, or do you feel they're engaged? When you ask someone, if you're doing a rotating minutes thing, are you getting your minutes? These types of things. So we start to hold everybody accountable, and I think have data when we make decisions. so that we take the, personal feelings out, no one's be offended. I think we all build our relationships here. I'd like to think most of us are friends and stuff like that, and that can be difficult at times. We've seen that. But at the same time, we have to remember that this is kind of like a business or an organization, and we need to be effective. And sometimes the best way to do that is, obviously we can be respectful, and I want us to have fun and always this and that, but there'll be times where tough decisions get made or things have to be done, and we have to have mechanisms in place that I think allow us to do that while not making people feel uncomfortable or slighted or hurt by that. And I'm not saying that that's happened, but I think from my experience, there has been a hesitation sometimes to always do what's best for the body to move forward because of those things. And obviously I understand that, and I struggle with that in my own head. And that's why I think we're trying to come up with these things to make it more automated and less from like a feeling of how just somebody feels. So do you guys have any feedback at the moment? You can also email me, call me, whatever. I just want to see if anybody had any ideas to share so far, how they feel.
Like, I think that communication has been more than great. I love emails and I love to read them when I actually have the time. I think I'm fully supported.
Yeah, thank you. Xavier.
In support of the round robin approach to feedback, for growth. I still think it'd be good to, I don't think having it anonymous, especially at this committee level, they should be fostering a healthy working relationship. And I think people can understand how to, like, say, oh, well, let's have a conversation. How do you plug in more? I think that will be useful and look forward to seeing that first draft when it's done.
Thank you.
Always been up for getting more people involved and just having those conversations. Nilsson, you and I, and all of us table lengthy, so
Yep.
that builds affinity.
I agree with that. Anyone else? No? Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, Asher, I'm the worst at looking at the screen.
It's all right. Sorry, I couldn't be there. My one thing, I'm not sure if this is board oversight, but maybe just communication, since there's a lot of changing of the chairs of committees and the vice chairs of committees, just maybe a little bit more, I don't know if board oversight would necessarily moderate that, but like speaking about different goals and how to work together and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
It totally does, and I think it's a great suggestion. And definitely something we'll incorporate even more than we have been, because go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying because there's a lot of people who have either not worked together before, or it's a lot of also newer members who are now in leadership roles. So just maybe, like, nothing wrong with new members being in leadership roles, but just communication and getting on the same page.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that what we're gonna do, I think we had to make some decisions pretty quickly because there are vacancies, but I think we are gonna be doing, and we're starting to do, like, having little meetings with those appointments. We tried to do them, I think, with every committee, even when we started. That wasn't, I think, from a lack of effort, but sometimes schedules just don't line up. But if you are given a new chair or vice chair, we will be having those discussions, preferably before that work even starts together, to put you guys in a place, whoever that is, that feel comfortable. People might not always, you'd be surprised sometimes, I think, right? That you think you'll work really great with somebody and you might not. And then there'll be times where you're not sure, it's a trial and error thing. I think everybody on this board has the ability to be a leader. A lot of it sometimes just time and availability and this and that. So, I think one of the things we said was we were going to try to do this and identify new leadership. And so that's something we're actively trying to do, more than maybe you guys even know. But Nilsa?
Thank you for your thoughtful comments. I come from a different perspective. I believe that the survey and everything that's being talked about board oversight is a great idea. But I think everybody on this board has to think about their shortcomings themselves, and they have to realize what they need to improve upon and what the expectations are from them, to analyze whether they are in the right role And if not, then what they need, so that then they can answer your survey honestly, so that then you can honestly put together a good effort to, so for instance, you mentioned in the agenda, right, about seeing how our local electeds are pushing forth, right, and what it may be on the committee. Well, some chairs may not admit, or vice chairs or anybody, that they don't really know how to do the research, or they don't know how to go, where to go exactly to see what's been put forth. So those are things that if we're asking for us to assimilate, that maybe those are things that we should think about what the steps are and not assume that that's there, and then put together something so that when people get evaluated, that they're getting evaluated all on the same level. If that,
Even
I'm not
playing
sure I'm
field.
saying it right, but you know what I
I
mean.
know what you mean. I think, that's a great idea, and I didn't think about it exactly in that light, but, a lot of the focus has been on new members and figuring out what they feel. And I'm not gonna talk about it too much because it is board oversight that's been discussing this. But I don't think all the surveying on what do you need to learn or you need to better is just a new member thing. I think, myself included, there's things I could be better at or refresh at. So it could be stuff even like educational things or whatever. Like I kind of know how to do that. So we could figure out ways to set up informal, like even like, I look at the summer as an opportunity. We're not discussing board business, I think, if we're just working on our process and stuff and educational. And if it isn't an open meetings law violation, that we could set up these impromptu virtual call when people can't meet, and whoever can attend and kind of give, we can do trainings externally, but some of these things are, I think, very specific to our practices. So that's something that came up, and I think it's gonna have to be balanced. Like, we're not gonna do trainings, I think, where they can actually be offered by the borough president's office. Well, if people want those trainings, they give them, they can attend. If they felt the need to try to bring them here, I think we could see about that. But what I was talking, I think, more about, and it got lost at that meeting, was we have our own internal processes, right? And the charter clearly tells boards that you can really have a lot of leeway. And so then I think who's better than us to build our processes out and even administer those trainings in terms of just like here's where you go to look up legislation. Here's how you track a bill. Here's how you know who made it. This is who else is co-sponsoring it, what other electeds there are, right? It gives you a strategy base in which to look at. So I think that's it for this conversation. I think we'll move to the next one, which is discussion on bylaws. Oh, sorry, Angel.
Sorry to cut in at the last second, but I was trying to gather my thoughts about this agenda this time. Speaking from the staff perspective, and I appreciate Sage for mentioning that. The email present template, like that's intended to be a prompt to our committee chairs, because more often than not, we're not hearing proactively from the committee chairs. And we as a staff see that the calendar is fast approaching the date of the meeting and we don't have an agenda. So we sent it as a prompt, as a reminder, what do you got? And I think that's a good practice. However, I think we would all really benefit from the chairs being more proactive, coming with ideas, not just in that moment when they're prompted, but also before. Like there's plenty of opportunity to partner ahead of time with the assigned liaison. Like that's the whole idea, that's the whole vision. If you have ideas, run them, by each other and try to work together to figure out whether this is an agenda item that, whether it is an agenda item and whether it can be done in the next meeting or the following one. We have time to make invitations, gather information, etc. I just wanted to say that because more often than not, it is, we're not getting incoming from committee chairs. It is mostly at the last minute after the prompt. Sage has been good about, once I send him the prompt, he gets back to me with ideas. I don't have to then call him and ask him for more ideas. He just gives them to me. But all my other chairs, I have to prompt them and chase them and tell them what it is that they want. So if, for example, like this month, one of our committees, we met preparation, we had our agenda prep call and we came up, the three of us with ideas. And then I went about trying to get invitations. Unfortunately, those are not going to work out for this month. So now I'm back to zero.
Okay.
They're good ideas. It just so happened that, the folks weren't available. So, we have to be flexible as a team, the liaison and the chairs, in coming up with more ideas, to inform the agendas. And then lastly, the chairs and the committee members also have to play a role in helping the chairs come up with ideas ahead of time, not just show up to the meeting. I can only imagine, well, I will put myself in the position, if I was a committee member and I'm just showing up and I'm at the mercy of a chair and a liaison, and I would never attend those meetings. If I didn't feel engaged, I wouldn't go. But I also wouldn't just wait to be engaged. I would engage myself. I would start putting ideas on, and then if they're not welcome, then I'll leave. If they're all welcome, great. The members have to also try. And to the point that was said a second ago about, we don't always know what people don't know. We don't know either, right? I can just do my job. I don't feel comfortable assuming you don't know anything, right? I operate from the position of, or you would find it because you're all capable. But if you don't happen to know, there's no shame in asking for help. And, we're more than happy to help to the extent that we can. And if we don't know, then we'll search with you to try to find the answers to whatever it is you need to.
Thank you. I'm trying to, go ahead, Sage, sorry.
Yeah, what Angela said reminds me, or just gives me the idea, that maybe it would be useful. It sounds like some committees are doing this, and I know district needs has done this in the past, but I haven't really updated it since I've become the chair. But just having sort of like a syllabus for the year, like an overarching, like for the next year, starting in when we first meet in September or whatever. Like we're gonna do this, and then the plan for October is that we hit this thing. Plans for November is that we hit this thing, and so like even if like specific, like some organization comes to you and wants to present, get on the agenda for that month, that like that can happen at any time. But like the work of the committee is going to be like hitting this milestone at this date, hitting this next milestone, making sure that in February you've like sent your invitations out to have discussions with each agency so that when you have time, maybe over the summer, like all of those things are set up already. I think that would be especially helpful. That definitely district needs, like any committee that has like an actual like product that they need to like produce. Also, if board oversight committee is going to be the committee that like does some of these trainings, having like a syllabus that's like when new members first come in, like the first thing they need is this. So we're gonna have this training in this month, and then the next month we do this, and we like build on that, and then you do another lap around the sun the following year.
Like that idea. That might be summer homework, because we do the committee goals, but I feel like it doesn't really come in prepared. I think it's important that you guys come in with some kind of template for everyone. To Angel's points, I'm trying to go quick, but I don't. Oh, after, go ahead, and I'll go.
I just more had like a question for maybe suggestions because my committee, I feel like I'm pulling teeth, except for the same 2-3 people. And how are we holding people accountable for that? Like
Well,
bringing
I
in
think-
ideas, being engaged, because it can't just all be on the chair.
No, I agree, and I think, well, I don't know if anybody's been doing it, I haven't, and Angel just made me think about that idea. It could be something as simple as an email shortly after, say, your last meeting, reaching out to your committee members, just saying, hey, does and you don't have to make promises, right? It's not like just because you give me an idea, it's gonna be on this agenda. It doesn't even have to be specifically for that one. It could be a general email, and just asking them all to give you things they might be interested in seeing on the future agendas. And that way they feel involved and they feel they have input. So I think that if we start there, we can identify then, start identifying the root causes of these issues. Xavier?
Briefly, Khalid, was great. We talked in January, the emails, the prompts are great, but we talked about the first quarter, talked about the goals through June, the job fair and other stuff. And as things come up, sometimes presentation will have to fall off because someone has illness. So it allows us to kind of stagger the agendas. And then if something last minute comes up, we can place on the agenda, and it makes it much easier. So I think that's one comment. And I think the other thing too, with committee engagement, I think that falls on us, the chairs and vice chairs, just to make a phone call, send an email. We used to do pre-pandemic when I was the housing chair, we would do socials beforehand, just to kind of build that camaraderie of working together. Little things like that to help connect and become an incubating session for the committee members that, yeah.
Emery?
And the vice chair be part of those meetings with the liaison and the chair?
Yeah, of course. I think that, I think it starts with that. I feel like the chairs and the vice chairs aren't always connecting enough. So let alone the members. I think we can build to the bigger ideas, but it could start with something as simple as like staying in contact with your committees throughout the month. Sending a simple, not bombarding them, but just sending them an email being like, hey, especially there have been instances where agendas, there's not much on them. And I'm like, maybe they could have used some ideas. And the committee members, especially the newer ones, I don't think they have any ability to give input. So that could be something that you guys can just start considering, just emailing your committee, seeing what they're interested in, and meeting with your liaisons, right? Like I would meet with Angel regularly and we'd have a meeting, we talk. And I'm not saying, again, they have a lot of work to do, but they're interested in this work and they have ideas too. But I'm not speaking for you. I'm just speaking to how I would feel. Like if it's your ship, I wouldn't really feel comfortable. If you came to me like, hey, what do you think we should be covering? If you're feeling like you're having like writer's block, like, I think leading a great committee is not always coming up with all the ideas on your own, but it's activating everyone else to help you. You're really just there to facilitate the work, I think, not dictate always what that work will be, but to give direction and to give an overarching theme. It is your committee, but it's everybody's committee, so, and then I do want to say just a couple things because Angel reminded me, and with the staff liaisons, I'm giving them certain instructions. For example, like attendance, we've talked about this is more of a board oversight thing. If somebody is 30 minutes late or more, or they leave before the final attendance roll call, either one, doesn't have to be both, they're going to be marked absent. That is the direction from us to the staff per our bylaws. And the cameras and the vice chairs, your vice chairs need to be monitoring this stuff. I know that they aren't, because I know that the stuff is not being done correctly. I'm not gonna go back in time. There have been things I've seen that are getting overlooked, that are not being done the way we had asked for it to be done. And so I'm asking the staff to help out. The thing is, when the staff takes an accurate accounting of things, I don't want anyone going to the staff and telling them, oh no, this person was actually here, this, that. You can come to me and we can have that conversation. But if it falls in the parameters of what I'm talking about, that is an absence. Go ahead, no, sir.
No, when you finish.
I'd rather we just talk.
Just clarify what you just said. So you're saying if someone is either late 30 minutes when they come, they're marked absent, or if they came in on time?
And they leave
And
before
they
the
leave.
final attendance roll call. That's what our bylaws say.
No, okay, so my question is, if that was me, right, I came in on time, right, let's say we're a committee of 7.
Mhm.
I make quorum, so we're a committee of 7, we have a motion in the committee, and I participated in that,
You still count.
but then I still count, even though I'm marked absent in
Your
the meeting?
your vote would still count. We've had that happen.
Business was conducted.
Yeah, we've literally, I've had this question recently myself, and yes, counts. And here's my thing to people, I heard a question that's similar to that, is, Like, let's say you know you're gonna be 30 minutes late or more, why even show up if you think you can come? Well, because I'll tell you why, because you still get to come in and engage in the work of the board. And if that alone isn't meaningful enough, then, you know, I don't know what to say, because here's the thing, truthfully. We have a rule that if there's not quorum in 15 minutes, the meeting is supposed to be canceled. Yet our attendance says that everybody could be 25 minutes late and be marked present. That makes no sense. And again, these aren't rules that we made coming in. These are the rules. If you guys want to change them, board oversight's talking a lot about this, you're welcome to go there. And then that can lead into our next discussion, which are about the bylaws. What I guess what I'm saying, I've repeated, is I will do my best to make sure we uphold the rules that there are. I'm not bound to them. If you guys want to change them, that's a call this whole board has to make. Asher.
Okay. So are we holding also with those guidelines you're giving? Are we holding vice chairs to that same guidelines? And what's happening if they? I'm so sorry. There's music in the background. If if they're if they're consistently late to meetings, what are we doing about that?
I mean, if they're consistently late to meetings, then they would be, they'd have to, first of all, it'd be reconsidered if they should be a vice chair. That would a conversation that would be on me to have with them. If their lateness was also to the point where it was threatening their attendance, then that would be a separate conversation. But I think the expectation is that a chair and a vice chair should be on time to perform their duties, attendance aside. So, you know, again, I think this is just speaking for me. It's hard because a lot of this was not happening, just being honest, right? And for whatever reasons, I don't think it's anyone's fault. And I think maybe I thought that things could change like this, right? Maybe because I'm thinking about it a lot and everything like that. And I've learned that things have to be, they have to move more slowly. And I'm teaching myself that. And it's not that I'm looking to anything. I think it's my nature to think if something needs to be done, or needs to be fixed, or needs to fall into compliance, that needs to happen immediately. Understanding that that isn't, I'm really looking to all these months leading up to September for, in a multitude of ways, to really be a launching pad into all this stuff happening. There have been very robust conversations at board oversight so far about these things. But I will say this, and it came up there. If you can't be at a meeting at a certain point, because think about it, meetings don't have to be 2 hours. They can be an hour, and they can be a great 1 hour meeting. And if you were 40 minutes late to a 1 hour meeting, why would you be marked present? I mean, you know, if you go to work every day and you're 30, 40 minutes late, you'll get fired. If you go to school and you're 30 to 40 minutes late, you're gonna get in trouble. Go ahead, Kyoto.
I agree
So
with that.
wait, I have a follow-up to that.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the threshold of lateness for that? Like how
Sure.
many are we saying is like, because if it's like literally, like, are we saying 3, like with the attendance, like for lateness, how many times late?
What do you mean? Can you repeat the question?
Sorry, I'm trying to think about how I could
No, it's
rephrase
okay.
that.
I don't know, maybe it was
Yeah.
me.
No, I'm saying how many times can a vice chair be late before you're gonna start to reconsider that?
I think that there's nothing in place for that. That's gonna have to be my call to make. But
Okay.
that's something we'll consider. I don't know if I think I just have to think about that, but
Okay.
point taken. Kyoka,
All right.
you sure?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry,
Well,
Kyoka,
look.
didn't mean to interrupt.
Look, I think here's the thing. We have to decide. I'm my personal opinion, and you know, I'm trying to let the board oversight committee come up with what they're gonna come up with, is I want rules that can be enforced to make us more productive. They're not to be penal. It's, if there are certain rules that aren't in place, we're not gonna operate as effectively and as efficiently. With that said, I think it's important to have potentially less strict rules that can be consistently enforced than rules like we have that are never enforced. Because when you have rules that you can't enforce or you don't enforce, then you don't have rules. But if you have rules that you can enforce all the time, then you do. And after a while, they aren't even rules anymore. It becomes a way of life. The idea here is to get away from actually having these conversations moving forward. That there's just this is what's expected, this is what everyone's doing, this is what's in place. Okay, I think the bylaw stuff, I wrote up a bunch of things. I asked Angel, to look at it ahead of time. He did. He made his comments, I believe. Yours are in red, right? Yep. This was just like like I took a shot at a lot of this to start. I'm by no means do I care if we go ahead with any of this personally. But I just want to give us a starting point. I can walk through a few of the things. I know you really all haven't had a chance to review it. Before we go to that, there is this deferred removal pathway. This was sent to us by Derek, who couldn't be here this evening, but is on board oversight. This was a discussion about the probationary period thing, also that we talked about at board oversight and thing. I have not myself had a chance to review this. Angel included it because he wasn't sure if I wanted us to speak about it. I encourage you all to read this and give your input. But I feel this is more of a document for board oversight to discuss, in depth, because this is engaging in conversations and work they've already been doing, okay? I just want, so in case you're wondering what this is. And then to the bylaw recommendations, I have them in front of me. Isn't that one? Yep, okay, I think I did. All right, so one of the things I looked at was excused absences. They seem to have caused a lot of confusion over the years, about people thinking that that meant that that didn't count towards their absence tally, when in fact it does. It does say that in the bylaws. I think the problem is that the language makes one think differently. So if you don't read the bylaws and just hear excused, you think, oh, okay, it didn't count. It does. So there's been discussion about taking it out or leaving it in. I've been a proponent of removing it. With that said, there are challenges, in my opinion, to removing it completely, or the language, certain language then from the bylaws, because that could then make certain members feel like they don't need to notify the chair if they're not gonna come to a meeting, or that certain things that they're dealing with might not be factored into their attendance. My proposal, and Angel had his own comments on it, and they were good points that might have been a little bit counter to what I was thinking, which is fine. I think we got to figure it out, is that he feared that leaving the language that I was asking in would kind of defeat the purpose to some extent, and you might as well just leave it in. As I wrote it, I had that same sentiment, but I was trying to weigh the outcomes. So my proposal took excused absences out, but then incorporated language that said that if a member has those, still call to let their chair know that they won't be there, or if when they go in for a hearing with board oversight, that they are still able to give those reasons that may have been an excused absence and have them be considered as a part of their hearing. So that was kind of my suggested revision there, just to give you guys an idea. So kind of like to remove the language of excused absence while keeping in some of the protections that it gave members in potential protections in a hearing, and to hopefully promote that there's still that etiquette of letting a committee chair or board chair know if they won't be at a meeting. I was trying to strike that balance. I don't know if that's something that can be accomplished clearly or cleanly. I bring it all to all of you to consider as we work forward, if maybe there's a better way than just like having it in or having it out. I don't know. So I don't know if anyone has any comments on that one specifically. Okay, no. The 2 and 3 are pretty straightforward. Right now, our bylaws aren't clear, in my opinion, on what 6-month period we're talking about when it comes to attendance. There's been interpretations where if, you know, it hasn't happened, but it could happen, where you could go back 3 years ago and be like, I'm gonna look at this 6-month window for this member, where they had bad attendance, and call them in our hearing. Like, that's not gonna happen. But the point of this document, in my opinion, is to just make it clear what is and isn't allowed. So there's language put in to make it clear that a hearing would be for the 6 months prior, right? Just to make that very clear. Go ahead.
I agree that the 6-month thing is ambiguous, but not for the reason you mentioned. I think it's pretty clear that like 6 months is the most recent 6 months.
Well, to you, but I'm not the only one that felt that way.
But I do think it would be helpful to clarify that. No, just like clarify in the bylaws that a 6 month period might include like January to June and then July to December.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because there was discussion in board oversight, which I don't think they figured out, so that's why I don't think this is finalized by any means, about summer months even, because if you include the summer months in the 6 months, then the threshold for the 2/3 is less. In some instances, it could be missing 1 or 2 full board meetings. I don't want to get into all of that, but I agree with you that that's another thing to consider. I think though, it's a rolling 6 months. So like, if, what is this, March? I don't know, whatever the 6 month period was from this to February would be the 6 months that we were looking back on. I think that one of the things Angel pointed out, and I'd like for you to give some of your feedback, if you don't mind. Well, yeah, you do. I'm just in the spirit of us, because one of the things I want to say is really you should lean on your liaisons at the meetings. We have them help us build our agenda and stuff. They want to be engaged. I believe they love this work, but we should be including them in the conversations. I think we're doing ourselves in the work. Oh, sorry. Now you have something to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Dan. So just what my feedback was, and what you'll read here, because this has been talked about quite a bit lately, and just ever since the dawn of time. So the 6 month thing, my suggestion was to look at the most recent 6 months, and we define 6 months as calendared meetings. And I don't know if you want to land on calendared as the last thing, but my thinking in including that word or that term is that you could, and we have had instances where there's a meeting on the schedule, we get enough notifications ahead of time that we know we're not going to have quorum, so we cancel the meeting. But in canceling the meeting, then attendance isn't tabulated. So what my thought was is that, well, let's capture that attendance as well, that absence as well. So if we have it on the calendar, this is a meeting that's happening, and then we couldn't have the meeting because of an instance like a situation, a scenario like that, then we would still be counting that attendance. So then it's, and then it also deals with the issue of, July and August, when we're not required to have meetings. And with certain committees that only meet as needed, or certain committees that only meet, I don't know, quarterly or something.
Right.
Should we have a committee like that? At any point. So then if executive only met every other month, so then you don't have enough months, enough meetings in the month, or so that's the same denominator for everything. So my thought is, well, let's just count back. So we're in March, we count February, and then the next 5 months, the next 5 meetings that were on the calendar back from there. And that might be an easier way to apply it more universally, and then everybody kind of understands what the deal is when we get around that summer thing. That's been a big hang up at oversight for.
I don't want to seem like I'm as smart as you, but it's funny. I was thinking about that earlier because of the whole summer month thing, where we should only count the months where that committee met. So if, let's say, it didn't meet for 3 months, then those 3 months aren't in the 6 month count, right? I think that's basically it. So I mean, that's I think a great idea, and I think that solves a lot of the issues I think that I've been seeing with having that discussion. That's a clean solution. One thing I want to say, and I had a lot of difficulty kind of writing this for the reason that you kind of said to me, which is it's very legalese with a lot of references. It's very confusing. Go to this point, that point. The reason I continue to write it this way is so that it kind of matches the document we currently have. There is, I think, room to potentially consider going through some of the repeated references to other sections where it's just really seems like it's very like covering every basis so somebody can't like litigate against it. That makes it an overly complicated document. I think there are a lot of times where it's just referring to something, or 17 sections where it'd be easier to just say that like in a sentence. And, because I think we have to make this more of a document that's user friendly and that we can use, and worry about like not even being sure what our own document's always saying. Sage?
Yeah, my recommendation on that would just be, like, I think most sections have like a subheader, or you just add subheaders, like, and then.
Refer to those.
Put in parentheses, like italicized, section 1B is attendance.
That's a good idea, Rosa.
Sorry, Chair, when you, mentioned feedback on number one, my brain kind of like froze and I didn't. So
Yeah, I don't
You
think I
mentioned-
said number one, so thank you.
No, earlier, you said about excused absences and absences.
Yeah.
For me at least, as the secretary, it has been, a little confusing and a problem to explain to members that were excused absent. So like, for me, I would love if it's just removed, because it's still an absence.
Agree.
So like, makes no difference being excused or an absent, you understand, because they're both absent. But it is confusing for new members and for me to explain it to new members and to members that have been here for a little while too, so. That was my feedback and sorry.
No, thank you for that. I think, I'm not gonna go through all these, you guys can read them, some of them might be whatever, I mean, I know, but. I think one of the important ones that we talked about was related to, and it was relevant with this, I believe this last election, with who is able to run and not able to run, and there was guidance that had been shared with us by city law, Xavier shared it with the bylaw committee, and we did not really get a chance to cover that, and I believe, which one was that? I think it's number 6.
Yeah,
Officer candidacy when a member's current appointment expires before the end. So, I mean, you can read the language, but essentially it's clarifying language that says that, if you're gonna be termed off, you're eligible as long as you're up for reappointment by the borough president's office, essentially, to run. And if you're not, if you're not gonna be up for reappointment before, within 2 years, it's gonna happen, you're not able to. And I spelled it out, I think, a little bit more in depth just to really nail it home, but go ahead, because I know that was something you wanted, right?
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. I do appreciate it. One of the things we held with the city law was the way they interpret, based on the city charter, and based on our bylaws, that it would basically, in the back and forth with them, privy to these, read the emails, and it would basically, comparison with our bylaws and the city charter, would, and those that were term limited, no one could run in that, because you would always be cycling off and up for reappointment. The key issue here is, are you going to be up for reappointment versus you have to take your 2-year period off? And this language cures that question. So their advice was, in this one-off situation, this is how we will also interpret it, but you need to cure it in your bylaws, so that they both dovetail together. So thank you for putting this together. I think this is, more than sufficient,
Thank you,
in my humble opinion.
thank you.
But the rest of it, I'll look at it, the calendar meetings, I think, look at that and how they will play out. I'll bring devil's advocate points back.
I like Angel's recommendation.
Yeah, was gonna get to Angel's
I
recommendation.
think they're right.
On number 6, do you want to speak to that? I was gonna bring those up on number 6 specifically. So, I will say the clear one is to, if I wasn't clear, I'm gonna look at the language to make it clear that it includes special elections as well. But then I think I'd like, maybe, I have my own ideas, but if you want to speak to both of them, but I'd like to hear especially what you have to say to the procedures of the elections committee and its responsibilities. If there was anything you had in mind specific when you were.
Lots.
I want to put you on the spot, you don't have to do it
Yeah,
tonight.
that's all. Yeah, so the second part first about the scope of the
Yeah.
elections committee and the work. I think there has been an opportunity seized on to insert confusion with that committee, unfortunately, and it's just made things at times more complicated than it absolutely needs to be. So that's one thing. The other thing is, like, we switched, so this used to be called the nominating committee. And by the time that we changed the name to elections, nobody could remember or clearly defend why it was still called the nominations committee, because they weren't doing any nominating.
Exactly.
So I'm like, all right, well, let's just make it elections, because they'll just run the election. And then another opportunity to create confusion or find confusion arose. So my problem with that last bit is, maybe like pull that out and have a discussion or a series of discussion about, okay, what do you all want the elections committee to be doing? I don't have an answer for what it should be. I'll share one idea that I heard from another board, and I don't know that I'm endorsing this, I'm just sharing it just to kind of stir thought. What their nominations committee does is they receive and make the nominations and vet the candidates themselves, and they put forward the candidates. I'm like, well, that's completely different than what we do. So it's like Greek. So I'm like, I don't understand that, but it's an idea. I'm like, wow, okay, that's a completely different thing. So maybe something like that could end up with a cleaner process at the end. I wouldn't want to be a member of that committee because they're gonna get a lot of incoming, but there might be people that are interested in doing that. So just an idea, like, again, I'm not endorsing it, just an idea. But my main idea is that perhaps the board can look at the scope of work for that committee and try to find a way forward that's a bit easier for those that are jumping on that committee and a bit easier for those that are on the outside looking for what that committee is going to produce.
Well, thank you. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Nelson.
I know what Angel's talking about. I mean, if you read other bylaws, some people where you could submit your own name and a group of people would look at your qualifications and see how you interact with the board and make suggestions as to whether you're a good candidate and then present them. I did elections for multiple iterations as a chair. And if elections are run as an election committee, it is not difficult. There's a process, right? Like you create a process. This year the elections committee added in the candidate forum. Many years when I first did it, that we did a candidate forum in the Black Box Theater. If the elections committee is going to stay the same, I think that there should be a clear-cut process, such as I gave this year, but so that things are more seamless, and then the committee can build on that with the ideas, but that there's always the basics, so that even if they don't even change anything, that it will be seamless. When you try to be perfect, it doesn't always come. But there's things to be said as a hybrid, if you're nominating people for positions, you should know that they've had like the board training, or maybe they have background in it to help supplement the work of the board.
I'll just say, and I agree with both of you, elections committee is kind of like a committee like licenses and permits. It should have structure, process, and rules. When it's vague and ambiguous, I think it can allow a chair of that committee to kind of determine how things might happen. And it should not be on any one person, the chair of the board, anybody. There should just be rules and procedures set in place that committee is meant to operate and execute, and those procedures should be determined by the members of the board. Everyone should feel comfortable on what those clear guidelines are. I think there are instances in our bylaws, including elections, that refer to things and leave it very ambiguous, and then there's no other document to look at to say, okay, but what is that? So I don't think I think that it was not overly complicated many times, and it went smoothly, but there should perhaps be a not overly complicated process that is very clear and on paper for all of us. So I agree with Angel. I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
I guess, that's it from me. We can keep this bylaw conversation ongoing. You're all welcome to bring suggestions. I just did this to kind of start the conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanna go on record myself. Um, I understand that the bylaws had instances where things may not have meshed and maybe a word or two out of compliance. But I keep hearing over and over and over about bylaws revisions and how, I just wanna go on the record to say that I've been on this board, oh my God, for many years, and, and our bylaws are not that bad. I don't think our bylaws are bad at all. I think that there are instances where they need clarity and maybe rewriting and maybe enriching and adding based on things that are happening that we may not have anticipated. But I want to go on the record I'm just honestly, as a member of this committee, that I know how hard prior bylaws committees worked. And we've had input from Angel, who's honestly been a godsend, not just because he's sitting here, and I don't want to give him a swell head. But we have one of the most learned, knowledgeable district managers, which it has always been my pleasure to serve next to, and now, and continue getting his support as a member. So, I just want to put it out there that our bylaws aren't that bad. And to keep hearing, members or stuff saying, we got to keep rewriting this, or we got to go visit this, or we got to do, yeah, there are instances. But if you go on other community boards, bylaws, and you think these may be a little touch confusing, start reading some of the others.
I agree with you completely. If I'm gonna be 100% honest, there have been requests that this is looked into, and I'm trying to hear everybody. Personally, I don't think this requires that much work, but I'm just willing to show that I'm taking all feedback and looking to incorporate it. There are a few things.
Yes.
I think our biggest problem is we haven't been able to always enforce what we had, and term limits brought some things up that probably should have been addressed sooner than later, but really, at the same time, there's a lot of work to do. It's hard to always be self-reflecting on all these things. I would encourage you all to consider specifically this number 6. That is something I think that we do need to put in, definitely before our next election. But so we have time, but it's not overly complicated. I think the understanding is there on what this needs to be said. Based on Angel's suggestion, it might need to be more clear on special elections, which makes sense to keep everything consistent. You're welcome to read the rest of these. I just want to come with something that have other ideas, but you're all welcome to bring other things to the table as well. I just don't want this to be, this committee, I want us focused on like bigger things. I just took this meeting to kind of touch on some of these things, but we can have an ongoing discussion about this. Rosa?
So, I agree, with you, Chair. For me, it's 1 in 6, mostly, that needs to be changed. I would love if we able to, remove the excuse absence.
Okay. I mean,
Not for me, because it's causing confusion for the current members, and the new members. That's just for me.
If we go by, if we consider the suggestion of removing the excused absence, why would that be a difficulty? I'll explain why. If we're saying that if I'm gonna be absent and I say, I have to be out because I'm, reservist, I have to go away, then my reason is on paper, right? So if I'm called in, then wouldn't my excuse act for me, even if it wasn't classified as an excuse? You know what I mean? I'm just asking just in general, but you, because I consider you the oracle. All right, so sort of oracle.
Go ahead, Oracle.
Or,
Oh, okay.
so I'm just wondering, right, like if we need to report why we're out, if I'm sick, or if you send me to a committee and I'm out, then I'm saying I will not be at tonight's meeting because the chair has been representing, right, out for a thing. There was a time when that wouldn't be considered, that would still be considered an absence. So I'm not sure if that's
No,
changing.
my idea was to keep that in. what I've done, I've only had one request so far, and the person ended up attending. But I asked them to give a written report, because without, and I said, if you don't have that by the end of the week, you're absent. And they ended up coming and giving a report as well, so that was very nice, but, Sage?
Is there, I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think excuse absence is a thing in the bylaws, it's just something that we've done. Is that right?
No, there's.
No, it isn't.
It's not in the charter, but it is in the bylaws.
Excuse absence.
Yes, we do.
And that was the problem was, and there's a world where we have due process procedures where we could put in there that, certain things will be considered in the hearing and then just get rid of this language altogether. We could think about those things. Xavier?
I'm pleased to talk further about this, but 4 years since '09, since I've been on this board, and then stepped away and then came back. We've said 5 reasons, and it's the same as when you're in school, and Nilsson would echo it, we all would echo it. It's missed meetings, whether the excused is just noting why you missed, jury duty, military service, illness, caregiving, etc. And ad nauseum, it's still missed, just like when you miss school, you're excused if you're sick, you bring your doctor's note in. You still have a certain amount of days, if you go over those amount of days, you have to do makeup, summer school, depending on the system. Anyway, so just noted that.
So you brought DOE, and it's still chronic absenteeism. So like, even though it's excused, it's still absent.
Yes, no, and I agree with
Board
you, yeah,
oversight
it's still,
needs to do
yes,
this.
yeah, so I think we.
I find it, right?
I think, of course, go ahead.
Answer
Take it
and thinking about it from DOE perspective and work perspective, when you have an excused absence, your body's not, right? Your body is not there, but you have a reason for not being there, and so unless it's excessive. A lot of times, like in the DOE, certain RUPD, like the system that we use to look at absences. We don't look at the excused absences because they have a reason for these. So it's not a part of the absences unless it's excessive. But if I call and say, hey, I'm in the hospital, that's a reason, I can't make it. So that's a reason, it's not like I'm just not showing up because I'm chilling somewhere outside, it's hot outside, it's different. So there's 2 different reasons for being absent.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember, we just talked about this a lot in the bylaws committee, and, I'm in favor of the recommendations we had then, and I think it was just to get rid of the whole.
Well, that's, yeah, essentially, Keoka, I believe we have to mark them absent, I think, I don't know if that's a requirement. My thing too is, I understand what you're saying 100%. There's also the idea of like, we have this system, at least, I think you can, where we don't really want people for their own privacy or whatever to disclose that much of what they're going through. And I think the idea of having this, and I could be wrong, because I do hear what you're saying, on a human level, 1,000,000%. But the problem is that it still affects the work of the board, when people aren't here. And the idea is there is a lot of leeway with the amount of meetings you can miss, even with that in effect. But like, if there are 6 full board meetings in 6 months and you can't be at 3 of them, then it's a hindrance to the work of the board. You're potentially taking a spot from someone who could be doing that. I will say this, just in the spirit, I think, of being more, understanding of people's situations and stuff. Board oversight is talking about there being, considered within reason, a probationary period for every member who would come up for a removal hearing the first time. So that would give everyone a second chance to even, have an opportunity after violating what I think are not super strict attendance rules to begin with. So, we are looking at ways to, give people opportunities in instances like that, where those things can be considered. So, yeah, we're weighing all of it, but at the end of the day, I think we have to put the work of this board before any one individual. I said at this table that, if I'm sitting across from my vice chair or vice versa, I want to vote me off if I haven't been. Like, if I am not here, when I need to be here, then I shouldn't be the chair of this board meeting. And that's regardless of the reasons at a point, because how are you guys supposed to operate? You asked me to, as I'm asking you, be committee chairs and everything. So I think there are mechanisms built in place to protect members from that when they're going through things, and we're looking to add additional ones. But I do believe there does come a point where if you can't, over an extended period of time, fulfill the duties that not only you committed to with us, but I believe when you submit your application to the borough president, it's essentially a contract. At the bottom, they ask you for this level of commitment. For whatever reason, they've always made the actual enforcement of that to really be on us, but it's in our best interest to I think there are instances where I totally understand, but there are a lot of instances where it is abused. It's just a fact. And we've spent a lot of time circling the wagons, trying to figure out how to protect members who just don't show up and do work. And it's very much a hindrance. It's taking a lot of people's time who are here doing the work, like yourself, showing up to do work, spending a copious amount of time trying to figure out how to accommodate people who don't. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes that does touch on people who are going through something. So that's why we're putting that mechanism in to stop those conversations while giving people who really are going through something a chance. Nelson and Rosa.
And I would hope, Kyoka, that, let's say there was me, right, and I'm sick a whole month. Then hopefully I only missed like 3 meetings, right, 1 full board, right, I would have to miss at least 2 more full boards. Plus I would have to miss more in my committees. So I will hope that by the 2nd month, I'll be on the road to recovery. My concern is, and this is not the place for it, that our disability form, the ability to use a disability form may be maybe going into the sunset in July 2026. I thought it was 2027, but them corrected me and actually showed me the information. So now getting the board to think about, like, for instance, like when my PAD acts up, right? I need to find a way to get here, because if it's August, then I'm gonna be marked absent no matter what, you know? And so finding ways so people can also start thinking about how they would navigate that if they've been consistently using the disability form because of their illness, to attend and are on camera, they may not have that ability anymore at a certain point. And so that's another part of board oversight, or, you know, re-education.
I agree.
Because, you know, that's something coming down the pike.
All right, Rosa, you have your hand, and then I'm gonna ask you, when you're done, then let's just go into your report, and then I can.
I was actually gonna,
Oh, and then we can.
maybe go to my report at the same time.
Go ahead.
It is on the actual application whenever we're going to reapply, the role of the community board. You gotta serve for 2 years and can reapply at the end of your term. Members are expected to serve on a minimum of 2 committee meetings and attend a full board meeting, where all committees make a report to full board membership. And then the community board membership is a major time committee. So like it says on the actual application, and it adds, members are expected to be active, involved, and maintain a record of good attendance. So it does say that, and then when you almost about to finish submitting the application, it tells you, do you agree? Do you agree? Like 3 times. So like, unless you just click and didn't read it, then, you know. But with regards to attendance, so I try to be as thorough as possible. Member attendance, I guess, not today, because I don't, you know, but anyways, I checked it out today. You can see, I don't know if you guys want me to say people's name, I am more than glad to do that, but you guys can read it, it's in front of you, and it's obviously gonna be put in the, I guess, in the folder. I don't know, how are we going to proceed with this, Chair?
Okay, I see the things here. Okay. So I see the red names. So per our bylaws, these people in red would be, subject to have a hearing. However, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was not the threshold we had been doing. It would have been
It was 4.
It was 4, right? So we've had this discussion at board oversight, and I asked everyone how they felt about that. And the idea was that we would get in alignment beginning in September to give people, because if we're changing, even if we're changing it into what we've always been doing, I didn't think it was fair to do that when people were already in jeopardy or in that out of compliance with that change, right? And Jose talked about that at full
Yes.
board, and I think he made it very clear what it is moving forward. September gives everybody an opportunity to get into compliance. And then we can begin to enforce whatever that is we have.
Right.
So then, with that said, my opinion, but and this would be in alignment with the committee that was kind of tasked with this. These people should not have a hearing. That's how we've been operating. That's what was agreed to there. It was what was shared at full board. I don't think anyone had an objection at full board.
That's why I included,
No, I appreciate what you did.
To have 2
Yeah, and I had asked you to do
Already.
that. No, this is very helpful.
Next month, it will be updated.
Yes, no, I mean, go ahead, Cleary.
I would, since we made an announcement of full board,
Yeah.
we should stick to
I
that.
agree.
September, so we're fair and balanced on everything. But this is extremely helpful. Thank you so much, Rosa, for doing the report and populating this.
Thank you. Nelson?
The cameras off during the meetings. I don't know what to comment on it. It's been repeated. If that is what needs to be, then we need board oversight and whoever needs to figure out a way to get that message across, because it's still being done. Just like sometimes you see, and I don't know what the position is, because I can't remember now, I haven't had coffee today. If a meeting starts at the public session, right? Or at the first roll call, right? So that's the public session, right? Not the business, right? There are people that I've observed that have their cameras off during the public session. You have electeds and stuff like that, but I'm talking about electeds, I'm talking about members. And then when the business session comes on, then the camera goes on. So whatever the messaging will be, it's probably gonna be moot after July, but so September, this won't be a factor, but if this, there has to be something with the messaging where people also have to understand, and they know that a meeting starts with the public session, because that's what we're here for. We're the community board. We're supposed to be representing the public, and we should be part of that. Just that.
I hear you, and I agree. At the same time, I've sent more emails about this.
No, I know that.
No.
The messaging has
And I
to be
think that
different
the
from
problem
something
is,
else.
I don't know if it's messaging. I think it just might be ignoring the messaging. I've said it. I think it's very clear when a meeting starts. I think it's very clear that when the public is speaking, I'd argue it's even more important that your face is seen, because those are the people that we're here to represent. I think it's actually very disrespectful when people come in to issue their concerns and they're looking at blank screens, especially when we're in fully virtual meetings, which still has to happen from time to time. I don't think it's a big ask to have your camera on. I don't. I've said that. I think it's all been made clear to everyone at this table too, how you can effectively do that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it just has not happened so far. And I'm in the spirit of being more patient, I am, but there are 3 people that are supposed to have computers at a meeting: the vice chair, the chair, and the liaison. Generally speaking, even at a full board meeting, you have what, maybe 5 or 6 people on average virtually. You have 3 people to monitor 6 people. In committees, it's sometimes 1 person. I've asked the vice chairs to be noting this. I've asked the staff, but the problem for the staff is, and I'm gonna defend the staff, is that when the vice chair and the chair are not doing it and supporting what their findings are, they don't feel comfortable, as they shouldn't, to do that. They will do it, but they have to be supported, and there has to be together. So what I'm asking all of you at this table to do, because it can be done by you guys, And I'm talked to Rosa and Jose about doing it, but it really does need to roll out together. So I'm saying that moving forward, you should all be checking and making note of that and then comparing those notes together and being like this, and we all know, you use the bathroom or whatever, that's understandable. But if there's a 1 hour public session and your camera's off the whole time, that's your camera's off, okay? It's pretty self-explanatory. It really, the onus is on you guys at this point. The message has been delivered loud and clear. I just need you guys to actually enforce it. I think,
But does that count as an absence or something?
yes, of course, yeah.
Then there will be a lot of sentences to say.
And then that's fine. I mean, why, do you have a feeling on that?
No, I
Oh.
don't. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to understand why we do it. It's like, you could be on Zoom and step away and not really be there. We don't know that you're there.
It's gonna take time, I think, like when I put my rule in about the rep speaking at the end, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I think the first time we had none stay. And this last time we had, a few stay. And I think if you just stay consistent, right? It's about consistency. We'll get it. Here's the thing too, I'm here to support all of you. So if you follow these instructions and there's complaints about it, send them to me. I told the staff the same thing. Send them to me and Jose. And we will address it. So I asked that if people's cameras are off the way we've described, you mark them absent. If they're 30 minutes or more late, you mark them absent. If they are not here for the final roll call, you mark them absent. That's really your vice chairs and your liaisons, and they need to talk after the meeting. There's got to just compare it there. That person was absent, done deal. And then the chair accepts that. There's no more talk about it. If you find out there was something, you would come to me if there's a technicality. Rosa?
Alright, so the cameras on is not just a new thing. It's not a rule that we just invented.
It's open meetings law.
So much, and I said, it's open meetings law. It wasn't enforced because, whatever happened, but I'm saying like, it has been there. And it is written on the law since COVID happened, that you have to have your camera on, so the public is able to see you and vent with you, and is able to see that you're actually paying attention to their concern. So it's not like a random rule, and I think maybe we should disseminate the law again.
I sent it, by the way, and then we'll go, and then we're gonna wrap up. No, I'm gonna support what you said.
Yeah.
The borough president's office had their council present this to all the chairs, that these are their rules, that these people need to be marked absent, that technical difficulties, that not having a camera, I asked these questions.
Right.
I can forward them to you if you wanna see them. They've instructed us that these are their rules, and they want us to enforce them. So this is not something that we woke up in January and said, we're gonna start doing. This is something that we're being told we have to do to follow the law. And so it's as simple as that. With that said, all right, last thing, and then yeah.
I just had a question about the member that attended in person.
Mhm,
I put a little note for everyone to see
mhm,
for transparency, like
mhm.
what are we doing?
They're attending in person and then
Left an hour before and then enter Zoom.
put the camera on? Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, I believe they did.
I think, her camera was on and she was submitted the form.
Yeah, I know. I told Rosa, and I'll tell everybody though, my initial feeling was that, and I don't have an opinion now. I will be reaching out without stating who the person is, just in very general terms, what would be the practice in that scenario where a member does have the form submitted, does attend in person, and then leaves and turns their camera on. I will get guidance on that and share it.
Yeah, I
with
would
that-
think you waive, but you get that full guidance and.
I will, and I will share it. With that said, do we have any old business? Wait, sorry, Angel, before Angel wanted to make some comments on motions. I think it's important.
Yeah, so since we have, most of the chairs. When you're having your meetings and you're taking votes on motions, and this is not exclusive to the ones that are in this room, this has been pretty consistent the entirety of, my experience here at the board. More often than not, when motions are made at committee, frankly, even at full board, someone will say, the chair will say, do we have a motion? And then someone says, yeah, a motion to approve. And that's it.
Motion to approve what?
That's not a motion.
That's not a motion.
That's not a motion. And then, we have to figure out how to document that in the minutes. We have to figure out how to appropriately capture that motion's intent and include it in the full board when that is not our job. It is the sole job of the presiding chair. Period. It is the Dem's job tonight. It's your job at licenses. It's your job in parks. It's your job at budget. Period. It's his job at Echo. And I heard Xavier just say it under his breath. The responsibility of the chair is to hear the motion. So Nelson makes a motion, I make a motion to blah, blah, blah. Anne Marie seconds the motion to blah, blah, blah. Then you have a discussion. You don't have to have a discussion, but that's when you have the discussion about the motion. The table then agrees. And before the vote is taken, the chair restates that motion. Either in the way that it was originally stated, if it wasn't amended, or as it has been amended. The other day, we had the board oversight meeting, and we tried to have multiple conversations. And at multiple times, we were all talking over each other, like for an hour and a half. How in the world are you supposed to understand what the intention of the committee is? Like, you can't. It just kept happening. There was a group over there, then a group over here, and then this one got quiet, and that one started, that one got quiet, and this one started. It's impossible. It would be super easy to just restate the motion before it's voted on. The example I always give is, the original motion is, I move to 1, 2, 3. It's seconded, 1, 2, 3. In this conversation, someone adds a 4, someone adds a 5, someone takes off the 5, someone, they agree on the 4. Okay, now the motion is 1, 2, 3, 4. You restate. The motion is 1, 2, 3, 4. And you vote on that, that passes. That's easy for me. I just go to the recording and grab it, and I throw it in the thing. I throw it on the full board. It should be restated and clearly. I've been asked a bazillion times, and you've all witnessed it. Angel, did you get that? And I look at you mean, I'm like, no, because it's just, all of that. It's impossible. And then members will say, well, that's not what I said. I'm like, yeah, well, which member? Like what would talk loudest, or, so it's asking you, and if you can spread the word, please, in all your committees, it just takes a minute, not even a minute. Most of the time, there won't be debate. If there is debate, then fine. But just please restate it, and it benefits the minutes, it benefits us, it benefits the full board. So then you guys aren't confused at full board. And I mean, you guys for example, licenses and permits. Licenses and permits has a meeting. Every month, the motion is motion to deny. You get to full board, someone will ask, why is the motion to deny? Right? So to save yourself that, the motions to say, if it's motion to approve, no one ever asks. But if it's motion to deny, they'll ask. So in that instance, the motion should be motion to deny on this reason.
Right.
And if you start doing that from this moment forward, then we'll copy that in the minutes and we'll put that on the full board, and you won't get that question.
I like that.
Right? So if I can steal another couple of seconds, something that we're trying to aim to do is, well, not even aim to do, something that Dan has said, we're not going to put motions on the full board agenda if there isn't an accompanying document.
I messed up.
So if the motion was for a letter, if the motion was for a reso, if there isn't a draft letter or a draft reso, it's not gonna get put on the agenda. And that's for him. I agree. One thing that we want to do for the public's sake is, once we have that draft letter, that draft reso, on the website, we post the letters that you all have approved. And this is copying from another board. What I want to start doing, if we're getting these regularly, I don't want to do it if we're halfway there. Once we're in the habit of doing it, I want to post the letters, instead of including them in the full board materials, post them on the website. So it's 6 that I always steal from, ideas, is noted as draft, and then the title of the letter. That way, you all have it, the public all has it. Technically, on resolutions, we're supposed to do that all the time. So it's a good practice that, you know, I want us to kind of get over the hump on that last bit. So that's gonna require. So a lot of, you know, there's the 30-day thing that a lot of committees have adopted, that's cool. In that 30 days, someone should draft a letter. So that when you're approving it, at committee the following month, for example, if you're doing the 30-day thing, the committee knows what it is they're approving. They're like, yep, we agree. And then we get that and put that out for the full board. If you don't have it and you put it before the committee doesn't know what it's agreeing to, it's signing a blank document. So, which is what we do all the time. So if Sage writes a crazy letter, you guys approved it and it says something bananas in that, but you never saw it because it got written, you know, afterwards, right? I said that to say because I wanted to keep them awake. So that's what we're trying to aim to. Like nothing too crazy, but like if we could just start with the motions and then get those letters and resos down.
Thank you.
That would really help. Thank you.
I second.
All right, any, old business? Any new business? All right, Angel, can you take the roll?
Sure. And Sage, I added that budget thing to all the agendas for April.
Is it?
It's right before old business. Many members of my party named who's acting present, Jose Alton Morano. Ben Maria, present. Jose Diaz, Joe Jones, absent. Stage Mason. Present. Nelson Orama,
Present.
Asher Rodriguez is absent. Xavier Santiago, present. Derek Stamcone is absent. Anne Marie Vasquez.
Present.
And Jason Villanueva is excused. We have that.
Thank you. And the meeting's adjourned.